just because you got to 1 million, 2 million doesn't mean that by adding a lot of people into it, you're going to multiply your business. You need to figure out the formula and then scale it. So the first $1 million might have come from like the founders outreach, might have come from non-scalable ways of getting in front of customers. But that doesn't mean that hiring a BDR team is automatically going to be successful for you. And you definitely don't want to do it at a scale at which failure is going to be hurting the company in a big way. You want to do experiments, you want to be okay with failure, but you need to do it at the right scale.
Welcome back, everyone, to yet another episode of the Growth Hub podcast, the podcast for all things B2B SaaS marketing, brought to you by marketing agency Advanced B2B. I'm your host, Clément René, and I feel like I'm introducing all episodes the same way lately, but you'll yet again hear about some of the most critical topics for B2B SaaS companies and especially B2B SaaS founders and leaders: scaling effectively, securing funding, and what to do after that. To cover all of this and more, we're receiving Sri Ganesan, co-founder of Konotor and co-founder and CEO of Rocketlane, a SaaS company specializing in customer onboarding platform that has recently secured 24 million in Series B funding to, and I quote, supercharge its efforts to integrate advanced AI technology. In this episode, we'll cover how to pursue and secure funding and avoid crashing and burning after it, how to build for scalability, what Rocketlane did to announce their latest funding, and spoiler alert, it's quite epic, what areas of innovation will Rocketlane focus on and the role AI plays in it, how to balance innovation with immediate customer needs and requests, as well as a couple of extra gems from Sri. So here we go for episode 107 of the Growth Hub podcast with Sri Ganesan, co-founder and CEO of Rocketlane. All right, well then, hello Sri and welcome to the show.
Hey Clem, thanks for having me on today.
Well, I just introduced you, but could you tell us a bit more about you and maybe share the journey that led you to co-found Konotor and recently Rocketlane?
Sure, happy to share my story. I'm Sri. This is my second SaaS startup journey I'm on right now with Rocketlane. Started my career in product management in 2007 and started at Verizon, then went to a startup called Rediff.com, and then a smaller startup called Jixi, which got acquired in 2012, which is when I started my first startup. 2012 to 2015 in the messaging space, got acquired by a company called Freshworks, continued to build that business within Freshworks for 4.5 years. Freshworks grew rapidly, did an IPO in 2021, etc. But meanwhile, me and my co-founders were on our second journey together from 2020, building Rocketlane.
All right, well that's amazing. And I mean, it's been in the news, but yeah, you've successfully gone through like a Series B funding. But given that recent Series B funding of, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 24 million. What areas of innovation are you most excited about exploring with Rocketlane?
Yeah, I think there's some clear areas where we're investing our energy. One is, we work with services companies and services teams, basically. So we provide software that helps them deliver project-based work to clients collaboratively, execute, in a very, you can say, how can we help teams execute in a high-intensity manner? How can we help them also with the operations of how they run their projects, whether it's, the resource management, time tracking, invoicing, etc. as well. So the back end and front end of their business is run on Rocketlane. So the additional funding is going to be used to expand our offering, both you can say upstream and downstream workflows. How can we tackle more, automate more for customers? And then there is also a very obvious thing everyone is investing in today, which is the AI piece, right? Like how can we bring AI into every aspect of what we're doing. Where in fact, the way we are approaching this is to build a separate second product, which is AI first, because it's harder to force fit AI into what you've already built versus when you know what exists today, uh, building something which you know is going to work really well for customers, and then how do you integrate the two experiences? So
Mm-hmm.
that's our approach, and that's what a lot of our investment is going into. Of course, we're also expanding our team overall. We have great traction last year and this year, so we want to be ahead of the next year. We're behind on hiring right now, so we're staffing up at the moment.
So speaking of that funding, can you tell me a bit more about how you announced it to the world?
Yeah, the reason you're asking that is, of course, you've seen the app,
Yes.
and yeah, we did this for our Series A and Series B, where we had a rap song uh, launched by one of our content marketers in house. Right, um, first time it was super novel. It came out really well. I was excited. We we got good mileage out of
Mm-hmm.
it. Second time, there's some thought around, hey, will it come out as well as the first one? Does it need to be better for it to make noise? Is it going to feel it's not novel anymore? But actually, it came out really, really well. So we were proud of it, and we put it out there when we did our Series B announcement, and it became a huge hit. We got more than 100,000 views on the first day. It got so much of media attention. There were, in addition to media interviews about the funding, there were separate interviews just about the rap song as well. So that was good in its own way. And I think what's more interesting is even beyond that, right? Like today, if you join a Zoom call with anyone from Rocketlane, you will be in the waiting room watching that rap song first before we let you into the actual meeting. And this has a huge impact because this song, as you've seen it,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's not a cringe startup video. It's actually really well produced, high quality content which people enjoy. So when you get into that meeting, everyone is all smiles. They're appreciating the work that went behind it. They like what they saw. They have a certain impression of the company now. And whether it's a prospect or a candidate we're trying to hire, I think it has its own impact on them or even on a VC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a next round potentially. So uh, I think it's very impactful for us. I would say it's one of the highlights for us of 2024 was that video. And yeah, in addition to building a great product, I think we need to do justice to the product, to the business in various ways. And putting a lot of effort into something like that announcement is our way of saying, hey, we care about getting everything done really well, world class, and all adds up.
Well, I really cannot wait to see the next one then, because again, this one was really, really fun. And you know what? Like, if you allow me, I'll actually probably insert a short clip of the rap announcement in this podcast, and then our viewers will get an idea of what you just talked about, and probably head to see it right after. And actually, if you're watching on YouTube, I just put a link down below in the description.
Absolutely, go for it.
Whoa, you put me on the spot, but I'm prepped for this, and I'll be giving it a shot. Kinda saw this coming, but you still feel the shock. Sales team thinking about the value of the stocks. 24 milli, what a stress relief. So we thought, hey, let's do a press release, but a tad bit more aesthetically, but staying true to the RL legacy. Yo, we started out as an onboarding tool, the new kid on the block, getting rave reviews. As a tool got bigger, yo, we ventured into BS, guiding our customers to deliver better CX. Then we said, that's way too easy. Competitors cross the board, feeling queasy. Legacy tools on the back.
All right, I actually have a follow-up question on implementing AI in the tools you currently have. Aren't you afraid of maybe AI improvising too much and changing the nature of your offering? What would be the limit there for you? In like, how much AI do you think is too much AI in your product or in a product?
Yeah, in a way, I think we've chosen use cases where we feel AI adds to the mix, and also there is an element of human in the loop in most of the use cases, right? So in that sense, AI is assisting, AI is providing information, along with, hey, here is why I'm providing this information. So, and then it's up to the human to interpret that information and take action. So we're not trying to replace what a human is doing. We're trying to assist them to do something faster, better, easier, right? So it's going to be things that um pull insights for the human to judge things, and also uh, it's able to tell you, hey, here is why I believe this is the insight you should look at. And then it's up to the human to judge whether or not that's relevant for them. Likewise, there could be suggested actions that come from a system. There could be signals and warnings that come from a system. And all of that is for the human to decide to use, right? Like, hey, we've thrown the signals at you. Now you give the feedback to the system that these signals are useful. I want to see more of these. But in some cases, there may be false positives or so on whenever it comes to alerts, warnings from a system, etc. So as long as it doesn't turn into noise, people will find use, and that's the balance you need to get to for kind of use case we're building AI for.
Okay, I think it's something maybe a lot of SaaS tools out there should also pursue, because there's maybe a lot of AI and maybe too much AI implemented in a lot of the SaaS world at the moment. But back to you and your experience as well. So you've recently pursued funding and successfully went through that round. So what would you say are the signs that a SaaS company is ready to pursue funding, and how should they position themselves to attract investors to begin with?
Yeah, obviously this changes from stage to stage, right? There's seed funding, which essentially is taking money when you just have little more than an idea or like a very basic version of something, and you're going to take it to market. You need to be able to launch, you need to be able to support what you're doing, iterate on it to get to some sort of like a product market fit. And then there is a series A, which is like, hey, I know I have the right product now. I need to discover more of my go-to-market motions. I need to establish how I'm going to acquire customers. I need to prove that I can keep these customers and satisfy their needs. So you spend time in that, and once you've proven that you have those customers you're able to keep and grow with you, you're able to service them more, you're able to win versus competitors consistently, you're able to achieve the right kind of business metrics from a go-to-market standpoint, then you become ready for a Series B, right? You've proven that there's a large enough market. You've proven that customers are choosing you regularly, and you've proven that they stick with you. Now, it means if you pour more fuel on the fire, it's going to burn more, and hence you raise more capital at that point. That's the idea behind taking a Series B. And then beyond that becomes again like, what metrics are you proving with the business? As you scale, are your metrics still looking good for the business? And then you go for subsequent rounds, right? For maturing, for acquiring other companies that may be doing adjacent things to you, and so on. But yeah, that's how I would look at it. And the way to attract investors, I would say the best way is to build a great business with strong fundamentals, optimize for customer love in what you're doing, and also in not just love, but getting customers to the right results. If you can showcase results with your product, saying, hey, here's how we are impacting the businesses we work with, nothing like that, right? So if you're able to prove with numbers that here is the change we're bringing to the customers, here's the dollar impact of our solution to customers, then makes you all the more investable. And of course, I think the more you focus on the right economics for your business, the more you turn it into an engine, the more easy it is to attract investors, because they can see the formula, right? Like, as long as you have things set up in a way in which you know that, hey, here is the way we're going to acquire more customers. We've proven this, and it's now just time to do more of what we're doing.
And what would be your advice for potential companies out there seeking funding to avoid, like crash and burning after funding due to, targets raised to the maximum and beyond, which is something we're seeing or we've seen also with big SaaS companies in the past couple of years. So what would be like, if you would like narrow it down to like 1 to 2 advices?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of interesting things. I've seen companies where they're at 3.5 million ARR, but they have 30 BDRs and 30 AEs, and their quotas have been slashed to, very low numbers because they're not meeting their numbers anymore. And when I dug into those, what I realized is they were just borrowing a formula that worked for someone else, and they scaled too quickly. Just because you got to 1 million, 2 million doesn't mean that by adding a lot of people into it, you're going to multiply your business. You need to figure out the formula and then scale it. So the first $1 million might have come from like the founders outreach, might have come from, non-scalable ways of getting in front of customers. But that doesn't mean that hiring a BDR team is automatically going to be successful for you. And you definitely don't want to do it at a scale at which failure is going to be, hurting the company in a big way. You want to do experiments. You want to be okay with failure, but you need to do it at the right scale. So iterate fast with a smaller team, figure out your formula, then scale it. So that's one thing I've seen companies do wrong pretty often, where that's one example. The other example is you go up market without finding that you have that right PMF for up market, right? You don't want to say, hey, it's working here, let me hire like an enterprise team now and scale it. You want to still do like a discovery with enterprise. You at every stage, going to the next stage needs design partners. So you want to work with a few customers, validate in that next level how your product works for them, what outcomes it helps them with, and are you able to successfully keep them, grow them, etc. Then once you've done that once successfully, then go to that next level, right? So each stage, find new design partners for the next stage.
Okay, those are like very powerful quotes you just gave there. And now, like also reflecting on your experience with Konotor, and you mentioned it earlier, the acquisition by Freshworks. What would you say are critical factors that contribute to a successful exit for a SaaS business and a SaaS founder or co-founder?
I think a lot of it is down to timing and luck, but I also am a strong believer that you create your own luck. The way you do it is every opportunity you get, you need to be at your most impressive version of yourself, right? So you're getting a few opportunities to get in front of customers, get in front of investors, get in front of an ecosystem through like events and wherever you are, or you're meeting another founder. Make sure every time you do that, you're representing your company in the best possible manner, telling your story in the best possible way, and you've practiced it enough, right? Like you've sort of, what's going to hit home well with each kind of audience, and you're always trying new messages with people, and you're always trying to be that best version of yourself. Bring the right energy into every meeting, bring the right context into every meeting, do your research before meeting anyone, and all of that adds up in some way, right? And for us, for example, I think the chain of events that went into our acquisition actually happening, I will need a whole podcast to describe what happened, the sequence of things that led to that acquisition. And it may sound like, hey, this team just got really lucky at the right time to get acquired by Freshworks and then continue that journey a certain way. But I believe that there were so many things we did and we kept doing that it was inevitable that it'll happen with someone. The fact that it happened with Freshworks is by chance, but the effort that we put out there to build and evangelize a new kind of product in the ecosystem was noticed. Customers liked what they saw. They were talking about us. The ecosystem was talking about us. And so when the right opportunity arose, there was a lot of, in a way, it was like social engineering that happened because everyone was hearing about us from multiple places. And that's what helped us get to the right outcome. Now, the acquisition by Freshworks for us was still premature. We were still a very small company, but we hadn't raised money, so it was good outcome for us personally, right? And so it depends on what your stage is. For us, it was our first startup, so having a win under our belt served us well to go out and build our next startup. And what we learned at Freshworks, luckily we sold to Freshworks, which was growing rapidly. I think in our time there, probably went from like 18 million ARR to 220, 230 million ARR in like 4.5 years. Fantastic journey for us to learn from. And that served us well in our second journey, right? So, so what outcomes you want depend on also your stage of life as an entrepreneur. Is this your first startup, second startup, all of that as well? And accordingly, but in either case, I think make your own luck, and you do that by putting yourself out there all the time as the best version of yourself. And
I'm not an entrepreneur myself, but I'm inspired by what you're saying. What advice would you also give to SaaS founders who are just beginning their journey, but are mindful of building for scalability from the get-go?
I would say for anyone building building a new startup, the best advice I've gotten and the best sort of learning I've had, maybe the hard way from our first startup, was spend a lot of time on just figuring out what's the right problem you're going after, and fall in love with the right problem, which has the right market size for hey, solving this is really worth a lot, versus falling in love with like a product you build or a solution you come up with, right? So pick the right market, figure out size of the market, ensure that there's enough problem and challenge to go after, validate how much ever you need to before you even start writing code, let alone scalable code, right? And then you think about, how do I validate what we're building, that our product has the right fit before I invest in that scalability, right? You want to make sure that you're building the right solution, then you build it well. So what we did was, we did take an approach of, let's get the fundamentals right in what we're building. We don't want to revisit things later, etc. But at the same time, we kept validating things with just, simply showing Figma designs to customers, prospects, etc. along the way. So for a whole year, we were building product, but we made sure that we were learning what's going to resonate, what's not. We always had active conversations going. More than 120 companies we were pitching to, showcasing, various stages of the product along the way to make sure that we were building the right thing. And not everything needs to scale well from day one. You need to know which experiences matter, which experience are like daily experiences or like active usage experiences, which need to be really snappy, really, well scaled, versus which ones you can afford to get away with for the initial part and then build scale into everything. So that's how I would go about it.
Well, since you've been mentioning the fit, the product market fit, the fit with your audience, as an entrepreneur with a decade experience in SaaS, how should you balance the pace of technological innovation with the current needs of your customers?
Yeah, I think the way we've gone about it with Rocketlane and even in the previous startup was, customers are going to ask for things. Very often they're going to ask for things that they've seen elsewhere. So if you listen to customers, you will end up like other products in the same space, because what they want is usually informed by what they've used before, what they've seen before, etc. So you don't want a roadmap to be fully inspired by just what customers are asking for. You want to bring your own unique insight into it. You want to listen to enough problems from customers and then say, hey, how would I uniquely go and solve it? Very often that insight comes from focusing on a certain type of customer and saying, hey, for customers of this nature, no one's built something, purpose built for them, and hence they're missing out on these aspects. If I go narrow, I can differentiate better. I can have experiences that I've specifically crafted for that narrow audience. So start there, differentiate, show your innovation for that audience, and it'll help you win in that narrow market. Then you can start broadening who you're going after and take on more of other narrow markets that you add to it. When I say narrow market, doesn't mean it's like a small market, right? You're just taking like a huge sliver. I'll give you an example. When you look at project management, there are many, many project management tools out there. We took a sliver. We said, hey, customer facing projects are actually 50% of the kinds of projects that run, but no one purpose built for customer facing projects. We want to do that. So we were able to build a lot of innovation for specifically customer facing projects where we knew people have like they're cobbling together different tools to accomplish things that they want to do for customer facing projects. Instead, we built something that's all in one for them with very new experiences. Now, that's how we innovated, right? We said, hey, for customer facing projects, this is going to be 10x better than a regular project management tool. And that innovation was not something that customers asked for, but when they saw it, they got it. They were like, oh, this is built for me. And now they will still start asking about features that they've seen in other project management tools, etc. But they will align with you first. They will opt for you because they see the value, and then they're going to start asking for more. And you can always balance it out with, hey, here are the things we're doing, which you're asking for. But here's the more impactful stuff that we want to build as well. And then, when you talk about the impact that you're going to create with your roadmap, very often something simple that the customer wanted, they may be willing to, give up on that request in exchange for something more impactful. So it's not about saying yes or no to a customer for their feature request. It's about saying, hey, do you think this feature request will be more impactful for you than this other thing that I'm building, right? And you need to help them see the choices you're making and why it's better for them.
The whole marketing work behind it. Well, thank you so much, Sri, for this. And before we move on to my final question, what's next for Rocketlane, and how do you see your role evolving as the company continues to grow and innovate?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think we're betting big on AI. So definitely there is a huge component that we really look forward to in terms of how we're evolving our product roadmap, how we're creating more impact for customers with what we're building on the AI front now. But even otherwise, I think the way we've seen and built this business, there is our product, there is a community that we're building alongside it, and there are best practices that we're learning from the community and bringing into the product. So there's a lot of, I would say, how can we elevate the whole space along with the product we're building? And that's something that fuels our team to help customers get to the best results possible from our product. And we sort of productized the approach to using the product as well to get to the best results. And that's something we're proud of. And I think that's something we look forward to. Now, the other thing which we look forward to is truly taking this to the next level from a scale perspective as a company. This year we've hired a lot of senior leadership in the company, VP customer success, or CMO, or global VP of sales, and we're invest in hiring a bigger team, going to more geographies, and really increasing the awareness of the product itself, right? So So that's something we're looking at. A lot of this is things that we're doing for the first time. For me as a founder as well, I think managing senior leaders who are much more skilled than me at their functions, and learning to do that, learning to work with these leaders, these are all things that we look forward to doing, and that creates growth for me, right? It's a new kind of thing that I'm doing, and I think we've enjoyed building this business because we're not doing it from a place of stress or pressure this time. We have good financial backers. We've had good outcomes as individuals in the past, so that stress is not there. So we're building up with a sense of joy, and I think that helps in looking at things as, hey, what new challenge can we conquer versus um, worrying about the outcome, etc. And yeah, I think the growth mindset is helping us, and that's what I look forward to as well, right? For me personally, it's new challenges, interesting challenges, which are forcing me to grow in new ways, and I'm enjoying it.
All right. Well, that's again quite good to hear, and like it sounds so positive. And I think that's growth can only happen if the environment itself is positive, or at least sustainable growth. And it sounds like this is what's happening there. But you've mentioned growing yourself, or like you just mentioned, like what you're learning as well as a professional and how you're growing. But that actually leads me to my final question for today. What advice have you received in your career that made you a better professional?
I think there's lots of good advice that I've gotten over the years from various folks. I think I would say one of the things I learned at Freshworks from Girish, founder over there, was this whole concept of don't look at something as like a challenge, as something that is a problem, but rather as an opportunity. Flip the switch was like a term he would use to motivate the whole team, the whole company, like thousands of people, to think about, hey, if there's a problem, it's always also an opportunity in a way to solve that problem. And it's an opportunity to push yourself to learn and grow. And, coming into Rocketlane, so my background is more of product management before the startups, right? It's not like I've done sales or marketing before. But coming into this journey, I knew that initially one of the three of us, needs to really focus on marketing, focus on sales. And I think I've learned a lot, and I've enjoyed learning it. And that's, you know, really helped us grow well in the early days. There are many other companies that started around the same time as us in the same space, but we've somehow, captured a lot more attention, market share, customers, etc. And I think the reason is we came in with this mindset of, hey, we're going to be the best and we're going to be world class in what we do. And we're going to learn to be that, even if we don't have that in us already. And we've built a team that's also, I would say, taken that spirit of let's build together, we're building the company together, we're learning together. And the goal is to be world class in whatever we do. So I think that's helped us. I think that keeping things world class and pushing ourselves to be world class in what we do uh, has really helped us. And I think the other advice we've gotten, which has been super useful, has been collaboration versus alignment. I think this is something that last year, founder of a company called ChargeB told me and our entire team that sometimes we think we're aligned. All of us know what the goals are, but we start going after those goals in our own ways. Let's say marketing is doing something to go up market and sales is doing something else to go up market. You're doing your own thing. You're all thinking that you're aligned, but if you're not working hand in hand, then you won't get to the result. So you need to have programs that are cross-functional, that are helping you align, but also collaborate and execute together. And that's when you'll actually accomplish what you're going after. And we had that same mistake happening in our company in 2020, 2023, I would say early on, we said, here's what we want to accomplish, but everyone was doing it in their own way. And they were all working for the betterment of the company, but we weren't getting to those goals. And then once we figured out, okay, this is the problem, we need to look at it as a program, we need to align on which bets we are making together and make it happen. Then it all started working.
All right. Well, it sounds like this is finally maybe the magic formula to like crack the code of broken alignment between sales, marketing, CS, and all of the teams as well. But thank you so much, Sri. This was extremely inspiring, and I definitely learned a couple of things. And I hope our audience did as well.
Super. Thank you, Clem, for having me on, and happy to be here.
And this concludes today's episode. I hope you learned a thing or two, and if you did, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. This podcast is brought to you by marketing agency Advanced B2B. So if you're looking for a partner to assist you with strategic marketing and anything HubSpot, visit advancedb2b.com. And if you're still around to hear this, thank you for listening and take care.